emissions connected to top oil and gas firms may cause millions of heat deaths by 2100, a study finds. I'm going to read into this more from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from The Guardian with the headline that emissions connected to top oil and gas firms may cause millions of heat deaths by 2100, the study finds. Global Witness analysis suggests 11.5 million deaths could be caused by burning of fuel produced by 2015. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share across social media so others are notified of this video. So obviously I can already see someone screaming fake news, or it's just a study, and yeah, you're just exaggerating and whatnot. And maybe I am, and maybe this study is, but I do think it's again a reminder of we're in trouble. Now, the planet is actually warming up, and we know this. There's been actual factual evidence to prove that the planet has been warming up. And we can continue to deny it all we want, but we should be doing more as a species to reduce that heat. And we have seen it across the globe. We have seen the rise in temperatures. And while you might think that maybe this study may be just seen as a how can I put this, a scaremongering sort of tactic, it's there to remind people, hey, this is happening, you need to take this seriously. Yeah, because while, yes, understandably, we all have problems going on in our world, and yes, there are lots of things going on, we still have to remember we still have a climate situation we need to deal with, and it needs to be addressed. And of course, this does not surprise me that it's been connected to oil and gas firms, because oil and gas, guess what, produces emissions. So imagine if we weren't relying so much on oil and gas. Oh, but whatever would such nations such as Saudi Arabia, Venezuela would do without selling their precious oil? Well, that's too bad, because that's the way the future is going, and we need to move on from it. It's not something that's going to be there forever as well. And I can just see another person say, well, it's not going to matter because I'll be dead in 100 years time. Yeah, it will matter to your kids and then your grandkids and so forth. So we have an ownership responsibility to look after this planet, because guess what, we all live on it, and I'd rather live on a less hot planet, if I'm honest. So the emissions from burning oil and gas produced by the world's leading fossil fuel companies could cause millions of excess heat deaths before the end of the century, according to a new analysis. The study from Global Witness found the combined emissions from fossil fuels produced by Shell, BP, TotalEnergies, ExxonMobil and Chevron up to 2050 could result in 11.5 million excess deaths from heat by 2100. Now, there's already been a high number of quite a few heat deaths already last year, and there was some there some year before. And don't be surprised that eventually, yeah, you'll start seeing this trend continue to go as temperatures continue to rise, and it's becoming increasingly difficult in certain countries to be able to produce the crops that they used to do, because the temperatures are so hot, and that the grass is no longer as green as it would be, or in some cases there's no grass at all. So it's important to remember that as well. The findings represent the first attempt to quantify heat deaths resulting from planned oil production and big oil, and add weight to drastically reduce the fossil fuel extraction. Sarah Biermann Becker, a senior investigator at Global Witness, said, every 0.1 degrees of warming will be lethal. Unless the supermajors change course quickly, the death toll will be comparable to some of history's most brutal wars. We cannot leave it up to them. Governments need to step in, mitigate the impact of extreme heat, and urgently ramp up transitions away from fossil fuels. The report uses the mortality cost of carbon module devised by academics at Columbia University and used by Oxfam among others. It calculates that in the higher emissions scenario, which is predicted to happen if the climate if no further concentrated action is taken to rapidly reduce warming, there will be 222 excess heat deaths worldwide for every million tons of carbon released. If the then used data leading analysis of Rostag Energy to calculate projected emissions from fossil fuels produced by the oil firms, it calculated together it would add 51 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide emissions to the atmosphere by 2050. Based on those high emission scenarios, that would result in 11.5 excess heat deaths by the end of the century. So 11.5 million people is what the study calculates as the amount of people that could die from excess heat deaths. That's not anything else. That's from the increase of heat death across the globe. So the analysis found that if the world manages to lower emission scenario, reaching net globally by 2050, excess deaths associated with the company's production would come at about 5.5 million people. Intensity and deadly heat waves have hit almost every continent over the past few years, sparking wildfires and causing hundreds of thousands of excess deaths. In Europe, searing heat killed more than 60,000 people in 2022. Remember that, 20,000. And heat-related deaths rose by 95% in the US between 2010 and 2022. Heat often hits the poorest and most vulnerable members of each society hardest, and with the homeless, those who work outside, and the elderly most at risk. Shongo Daskuda, an environmental economics at the Euro-Mediterranean Centre on Climate Change, said action needed to be taken to protect the most vulnerable. We've already seen the impact of heat stress on workers around the world, particularly on people in outdoors or heavy-duty industries such as agriculture and construction. This will likely get much worse as the planet continues to heat up. We need labour production policies that are tailored to meet local needs rather than one-size-fits-all approach. This isn't just a moral question, it's also in the economic interest of employers to provide adequate protection for their workers. Experts point out that the heat deaths will be just one result of a failure to rapidly transition away from fossil fuels, alongside other disasters such as fuel shortages, flooding, and political and economic turmoil. The big oil corporations continue to invest billions in new oil and gas reserves, and BP and Shell have recently weakened their climate pledges. In response to Wednesday's analysis, TotalEnergies said it was continuing to invest in new oil projects to offset the natural decline in existing production in order to meet expanding global demand. So, see, we're supposed to be doing the opposite here, and we're still going more into oil. We're supposed to be moving away from it, and we're doing the opposite with it. Along with Shell and BP, it said it was investing in renewables and low-carbon energy to support a just transition to low-carbon energy as a system. BP added, since it has not set out its oil and gas production beyond 2030, predictions based on its plans to 2050 were invalid. BP and Shell said they have made progress in reducing emissions from their operations. Shell questioned some of the methodology used in the analysis. Of course they would. They're an oil gas company. Why wouldn't they question it? Spokesperson for Shell added the pace of transition depends on the action in many areas, including government policy. That's right. It's not our fault. You have to blame the governments for it. We're just making a profit in the business. It's nothing to do with us. It's not us. It's all these governments. They're the ones who need to be. Well, our hands are tied on this. We're just making money at the end of the day. Changing customer demand and investing in low carbon energy. Our aim is to play our part in a balanced energy transition when the world achieves net zero emissions without compromising on delivery and security and affordable energy, which has improved for so many lives and which people will continue to need today and for many years to come. Exxon and Chevron did not respond to requests for comment. But they don't care, guys. That's the thing. They don't care. They're not interested in this. They're not interested in this at all. At the end of the day, their most important thing is about the bottom line, the bottom dollar that comes into their bank accounts, because that's really the only thing that really matters to them. And the thing is, we know they have influence in governments across the world, and the challenge is obviously convincing governments that, hey, these things are happening and we need you guys to do something. And the problem is that these oil and gas companies they have too much influence, and this is a problem when you have private companies having influence within government. It's not good. It's not ideal. It's frustrating to say the least, because it requires a global effort, and the problem is that nowhere near the world is united enough on this issue in any way, shape, or form. Frustration. I mean, I don't expect us to reach net zero by 2050. In all seriousness, I'd like to think we will make some progress, but as of right now, I can't see it. If I'm honest, because we don't have enough governments, we don't have enough political leaders willing to listen to people and willing to listen to scientists and experts about actually doing this, because everyone's more concerned about their own well-beings, about, understandably, obviously caring about domestic issues, but not looking at the bigger picture of, a planet that is getting very, very hot and may get at some point too hot for us to live in. Well, what do you make of the study? What do you make of the emissions? Do you think oil and gas firms are doing enough to play their part, or are they just interested in the bottom line? What are your thoughts about this study and oil and gas firms in the comment section down below? If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. But if you want to go one step further and financially support me in the work I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.